Hello, my name is Nicole, and thank you so much for taking the time out to listen. Today, we're talking about the seductress at the workplace. Yes, she shows up. She shows up, and her intention is to, unfortunately, get a man or men to pay attention to her and eventually bed one or many. The seductress at the workplace, she doesn't start off thinking about being involved with a man. She doesn't start off thinking about, oh, this is where I'm going to meet my future husband. It's something that happens over time. She's looking for the willing participant when she is ready. Okay? The seductress, she is mentioned in the Bible, except the problem though with the seductress is she is married. Uh-oh. She is not just the seductress at the workplace, but she is a married woman who is seducing men, and sometimes she's seducing women too. It all depends on what she's in the mood for and when she is willing and ready to strike. We're going to take a look at Proverbs 7. My son, keep my words and store up my commands within you. Keep my commands and you will live. Guard my teachings as the apple of your eye. Bind them on your fingers. Write them on the tablet of your heart. That's a lot. That's a lot that this particular scripture requires you to do. Why? Because this is important. Someone out there is being ensnared by the married woman. Someone out there is being caught up by the seductress who doesn't care that you're married. So you are to say to wisdom, according to Proverbs 7:4, you are my sister. Some of you all have even referred to me as such, which is interesting. And to insight, you are my relative. Verse 5, they will keep you from the adulterous woman, from the wayward woman with her seductive words. She's coming for the believer. She's coming, whether you're male or female. She's coming because she got some demonic things that are working in and around her. Some spirits, if you will. There are rulers, principalities, darkness in this world, according to Ephesians 6. And this woman, a lot of times, they get caught up, not just this woman, but many types of women get caught up in some witchy types of behaviors. They get caught up in some spells and curses and incantations. There's the generational seductresses that have come before them. And so when they come into a room filled with a lot of weak men and women, they have a way of seducing them to do just about anything. And it hurts because when you're on the outside looking in at the shady maneuvers that these women play, you want the men and women to not fall for it. You might even say, listen, she's just taking you for a ride. This one, oh my goodness, she's nothing but a snake. And you know what they'll respond with? Oh, she's so nice. Oh, stop being jealous. I mean, really. And you're saying, you know that there's a body count with this one. Oh, I didn't know all that. But you know what? I'm strong. I'm not like some of those other ones. Oh, you just met your match and then some, player. Look, at the end of the day, we know this woman is an adulterous woman. She's already married. We already know that she seduces with her words. Okay, she's a wayward woman. She's not going to stay faithful to anyone. There's some men that get played by a woman who's already married. She can't stay faithful to her husband. What makes you think she's going to stay faithful to you? Well. In verse 6, at the window of my house, I looked down through the lattice, right? Those of us who are the witnesses seeing this sort of thing unfold. I saw among the simple, I noticed among the young men, a youth who had no sense. And sometimes it's not young men who get caught up, but it's the old ones who you think got sense, but they don't either. Here's verse 8. He was going down the street near her corner, walking along in the direction of her house, at twilight as the day was fading, as the dark of night set in. Now, we're going to modernize this a bit And we're going to say that he was going down the aisle, going over to her cubicle. He was walking in the direction of her department. And when he should have been going home, he was staying late. All right. I'm speaking to somebody. Verse 10. Then out came a woman to meet him. Now we're the witnesses. We could be over in the other department. We could be far away in the distance somewhere. There comes the woman. Uh-oh. She's dressed like a prostitute and with crafty intent. In verse 11, she is unruly and defiant. Her feet never stay at home. Now, for some of you all, her feet never stay in her cubicle or in her office. She's always walking the floor. She always got somewhere to be, but she's not getting her work done. Sooner or later, you see, the adulteress, seductress kind of woman, she gets fired or terminated or written up. Or she just quits before somebody terminates her. She is not interested in getting her work done when she got her eyes set on a willing participant. Okay? This is an unruly and defiant woman. You tell her what the policies and procedures are, and she says, huh? What? Oh, I don't recall. I don't remember. No one trained me on that. What are you talking about? Okay? This woman is something else, and some of you all, you work with her. Oh, but we're not finished. So she's unruly and defiant. Her feet never stay at home. Now in the street, now in the squares, at every corner she lurks. She's in the hallways. She's running errands. Not at the desk, though. She took hold of him and kissed him. And with a brazen face, she said, "Today I fulfilled my vows and I have food from my fellowship offering at home. So I came out to meet you. I looked for you and have found you." See, she found her willing participant. She found that wayward spouse of a man who every now and again thinks about what it would be like not to be married. Oh, she found that man who's so gullible, who's engaged, but oh well. The one who he's engaged to, he's having second thoughts about. But she got some food. Oh, some men, the way to their hearts is through their stomachs. So she came out to meet him, and she found him, all right. And she starts telling him about what she got at home. You see, it's the workplace. Yes, for some of you all, this hits home. Now, this woman, though, she's met this guy out here on the street, but she's telling him about what she got on her bed. I have covered my bed, in verse 16, with colored linens from Egypt. I have perfumed my bed with myrrh, aloes, and cinnamon. You see, some women, they don't mind talking about all of what they got, especially that very expensive stuff, that designer stuff. Why? Because she knows that in order to attract certain men, she's got to attract them with some high-end goods. Okay, some will attract some men with some very high-end drugs, some very high-end alcohol. And you got some men that'll say, "It's like that." And she's like, "Oh yes, it's like that." Verse 18, "Come, let's drink deeply of love till morning. Let's enjoy ourselves with love." Now, you know, in the hood, some folks would be quite raunchy, quite nasty. Okay? Some others are just pornographic in the way that they would come at some men. Verse 19, "My husband is not at home. He has gone on a long journey." Excuse me? Wait, hold up. She's married. Oh, yes. She may not have worn a ring in a long time, or maybe she does wear the ring, but she doesn't care. Look, the woman said her husband's not at home, and some men, they perk up. They're excited about that. Well, where is he? He has gone on a long journey. That's where he is. And here's how she hints that she could use some money. Verse 20, "He took his purse filled with money and will not be home till full moon." Some women, especially the bold ones, they don't mind saying some things like, "Look, I don't have any money." All right. Maybe she doesn't lure the man in with any high-end goods, but she'll lure him in on his favorite drink, that's not too expensive, or his favorite food or what have you. But look, I don't have any money because my husband, he took the money. So what you saying? You need some? Yeah, I mean, if you can break me off some money. Oh, sure. What you gonna break off? Uh-oh. You see? And this sort of thing happens, yes, even at the workplace, at the church, at the local bar, over at grandma's house we go. I mean, we got some seductresses who are married who do this sort of thing. Verse 21. Listen, she's using persuasive words. With persuasive words, she led him astray. Okay? She seduced him with her smooth talk. She has game, people. This is a woman who knows how to play men. Some of these women, they've done this for a long time. That's why they can play the type of games that they play on these young men. You've got to school these young men who don't know how some of these mature women operate. You've got to school some of these young men who are still very immature. There are those women who are very, very mature for so-called their age. Okay? But they're mature sexually, but in other areas, they're not so mature. And these men get caught up, young as well as old. Remember, she's dressed like a prostitute. Even her wardrobe is strategic in ensnaring the man. She's very selective about what she chooses to wear. She's selective about what she perfumes herself with. Okay? And she is persuasive. Verse 22, all at once he followed her like an ox going to the slaughter. Like an ox going to the slaughter. Like a deer stepping into a noose. Does it sound like this man's going to die? Does it sound like this man's going to be destroyed? Does it sound like in the future it's going to be a whole lot of hell to pay because when his wife finds out, if he too is married, oh my. If the woman's husband finds out, what might come of the man? Lord, a lot is ahead. Like a deer stepping into a noose till an arrow pierces his liver, like a bird darting into a snare, little knowing it will cost him his life. Verse 24, now then, my sons, listen to me, pay attention to what I say. And I told my sons this, pay attention. Because there's some women out here that you don't know. You don't know how cold, how calculating they can be, how smooth they can be. But I'm trying to tell you, and I hope you're listening. Now then, my sons, listen to me. Pay attention to what I say. Do not let your heart turn to her ways or stray into her paths. Many are the victims she has brought down. Many are the victims. Some women like to lie and say they're virgins. Others will say things like, I have only had a couple lovers in my life and that sort of thing. Women who are smooth operators like this, they have lots and lots of victims. And this woman, she has brought them down. Her slain are a mighty throng. Her house is a highway to the grave. Some men end up dying behind women like this, leading down to the chambers of death. That's what her house is like. Some men can attest to this. Yes, I've been around this type of woman before. I know I was sick, some men would say. I was sick in my head. I was sick in my spirit. I was sick physically messing with a woman like this. She pulled me out of my happy relationship. How did she do it? Through her seductress ways. How did she do it? She dressed like a prostitute. I know I was weak, says the man. I know that I should have been looking over in another direction and not in her area, but I couldn't help myself. She was just so beautiful. And then she got you. You got some women who get caught up with the married woman because she sees that they're weak to the same sex. She has destroyed some women, brought them down low, played with their minds, told them how much she hates men, including her own husband, played around with him mentally, physically, spiritually, sexually, and then acted like she didn't even know him. Swears up and down she's a heterosexual. I'm telling you, we got some devilish types of people out here. And when you get mixed up with them, you will find yourself thinking about them all the time. You'll find yourself going into areas that you shouldn't be going with them. Before I was married, there were those women who were temptresses. And I saw some things about them that wasn't right. And I said, wait a minute. This is not me, and I'm not even about to go down this rabbit hole with these women. There was one who her husband was away, and she started talking to me about all sorts of things. And then she started telling me about her sexual desires and the things that she had experienced with other women. And I was saying to myself, why is she sharing this with me? She knows I'm heterosexual. But then I got to thinking, I said, she's sharing this with me because she must see something that is weak. And there was something that was weak. I was in a relationship. I was married to a man who his eyes was elsewhere. And every now and again, you slip up and say something about your relationship troubles with the wrong person. They say something like, well, let me make you feel good. But I didn't fall for it because I wasn't about to go down that, once again, that rabbit hole. But she tried, and I didn't budge. I'm telling you, we got some people in this world, once again, that they are so upset and miserable and just angry about a lot of things, but they will use sex as the escape from their miserable life, and they don't mind having some people that will go along with the program. They feel bad, but they want to feel good. And they will convince you that they can make you feel good as well. But the feeling good is temporal. It may be in a conversation, but then the man realizes, I'm going to walk away from this conversation because I got a wife at home. It may be in the touch, and the touch didn't lead to sex, but it was a temporal feeling, and it was something that you need to walk away from before it's too late. It may be in the sexual act. It happened one time, but you got to walk away from it because you don't want to continue down that slippery slope. Some men have had to confess to their wives what they've done, and it caused all sorts of hell in the household. Some men, they are on their way toward this sort of thing. And they just don't know that if you do some things, especially to the people of God, if you're married to a woman of God, Lord help you. You see, God will not be mocked, and he will not have his people be mocked either. He will come, and he will avenge his people. There are some men who will attest to that. My life has been hell the day that I set eyes on that woman. I could never, ever get my peace of mind back. I was a different man before she showed up, that seductress. It started at the workplace. I was minding my own business, and there she showed up with that tight dress and tight shirt, and she showed off a few things, and she told me how nice looking I was and how she could help me out, says the man. And we had these conversations, and then the conversation started becoming inappropriate, and then she invited me out to lunch, and then she invited me out to dinner, and the next thing I know, I didn't want to do it, but I did it anyway. She made arrangements for me to meet her at the hotel. So sad. I'm speaking some man's truth. I want you to know that the Lord, he can forgive you of many things. He can. But if you're not going to stick it out with him, and you rather continue to sin, he's not going to be able to help you. Instead, he's going to let the devil have his way with you because you are rebellious. Once again, God will not be mocked. Somebody take heed. Thank you as always for listening to YouTube NM Enterprise 7. Feel free to like, subscribe, comment. If you would like to give, you are welcome to do just that. Let us pray for those individuals who each and every day are faced with the temptation to sleep with the seductress, who is a married woman. Let us keep in mind that God, He sees what is in the darkness, and He will sooner or later bring it out into the light if you do not walk righteously with Him. Thank you, Lord Jesus, for another word that moves on our hearts, our minds, our spirits. Blessings to you.